Okay. Huh. Sometimes things just don't go as planned. Isn't that the truth about life? And I love what Wayne Dyer said. It really hit me hard when I read this for the first time. And that was, when you're squeezed, what comes out? Right? When an orange is squeezed, thank you, you get orange juice. You don't get lemon juice. You don't get iced tea, right? So when we get squeezed, when something's really an issue for us, for instance, how do we respond? How do we react to life? Well, I say go with the flow, because we don't really have a choice, do we? We can resist, or we can just be with what is and what's happening. Yes, that is the background on my laptop. You know, I wanted to talk about, I am going to talk about this morning, unconditional love. That gets to be my portion of this morning's talk. And I so appreciate this idea. And if we could all be it all of the time, wouldn't life just be grand? And that's our goal, though. Because there is only one kind of love that will completely fill us up, that makes us feel whole and perfect and okay. Gives us that peace, that happiness that we're striving for, and that is unconditional love. Is there anyone in this room who doesn't want to be loved for who they are? Just simply the way I am, right? Which is what that reading that I shared was all about. Unconditional love is what we seek, and somehow we intuitively realize that anything other than this kind of love isn't really what we're after. It's not really the love that we're looking for. It's a simulation. It's an imitation. Unconditional love is caring about the happiness of another without any expectation of what's in it for me. How do I benefit from this? It's about, what can I do for you, my fellow human? It's a soul-to-soul connection. Here's how you know it's unconditional love. You do something kind of silly. You make a ridiculous mistake. You fail to do what somebody wants you to do. You get in somebody's way accidentally. And you know how you know if it's an unconditional relationship and love? They don't get irritated. They don't get angry. They don't get disappointed in you, no matter what. Because, like just happened, what are you going to do? That's true unconditional love. And that love alone has the power to heal any wounds that we may be carrying around. It has the power to bind people together and to create relationships so deep and so real that it's beyond your imagination. That is the truth. On our spiritual path, I believe probably the most significant shift that we make is that shift from I said shift, from I to we. Right? It's no longer about just me. It's about us. Because we realize that we're all in this life together. And what affects you affects me. What affects one absolutely does affect all. And we come to that realization, there's no us and them. It's all one. And that realization only can come through unconditional love. Through that recognition of soul to soul. Want to sing again? Thanks, Greg. So often we try and, we're going to get there. We try and hide who we are. because somebody else might think something. And we hide who we are rather than heal who we are. We're afraid that if we do show our true selves, something ugly, something unforgivable may rear its ugly head. And none of us want to do that. At the same time, we naively think or hope that if we don't look at our wounds, that which needs to be healed, that it'll go away all by its big self. Well, that's not the truth. And it takes emotional courage to look deeply into ourselves, to face everything that's there, those things that we don't think are perfect. We forget they're perfect for us, for where we are in our lives. And if we don't use that emotional courage to go within, the tendency that we have as human beings, not you personally, is to find fault in others. It's easier to see that in other people than it is ourselves sometimes, because we focus not on their wounds, because those don't appear on the surface. We focus on their faults, because they are on the surface. When we reach for the highest within ourselves, people around us feel called to be their highest as well. As we see that in other people, that divine truth in others, that divinity within them, then they slowly begin to see that in them as well. And the power of unconditional love is within each and every single one of us in every moment. And that energy is available to us simply by recognizing it and consciously using it. When we choose to love another, we transcend the lower energy of our egoic perception. We rise to a higher truth, the truth. We recognize our oneness, our wholeness, our interconnectedness. I am you and you are me. We are truly one. That is a universal and unconditional love that recognizes the beauty in life of every moment of our life. It's of higher nature, that divine nature. It's our natural expression. And it does not expect an outcome. There's nothing in it from me. It is simply giving and loving for the simple sake of giving and loving. As you give and love, you will experience that love itself. Just as I referred to in that reading, right? As I sow, so shall I reap. And that is the truth. When you express love to the world around you, the world can't help but reflect back to you what you're putting out. That power of unconditional love. Each of us will desire to understand, and we all desire to understand and experience this. We seek it in our families, in our relationships, in our work, our hobbies, our religions, and all the while, it is right here within, ready to be given freely and to be experienced by all and everyone. As we allow ourselves to understand the impact of our actions of love, we not only are sending love to ourselves, we're sending our love out. That includes the planet that we live on together. That means all of humanity. And then we can see and realize the necessity of taking that action of love and sending it out. We have the power to change our conditions within. And guess what? When we do that within, it's affecting, of course, without. This planet is filled with incredible amounts, unlimited opportunities for us to experience and send out love, respect, peace, joy. We can do it every day. When we as individuals realize our potential, our potential to love unconditionally, we transform ourselves and we transform this beautiful planet Earth at the same time. That's the power that we hold in each and every single moment. The choice is ours to be able to create that world of joy, happiness, love, peace, or not. We each have that responsibility. Every moment of every day is a new beginning. Each moment holds that new beginning of possibility and opportunity for us to create without limitation. What a beautiful gift. We can let go of what we perceive or what we believe is before us and allow our personal potential to come out, to share, to shine through. Start each new day with self-discovery. Open up to that. Let go of yesterday. Let go of tomorrow. Embrace the power of now. Remind yourself daily that each and every moment is new. Every day is new. How can I love in this moment? How can I love unconditionally in this moment? And the truth is, it always begins with yourself. If we don't take care of ourselves, it will be virtually impossible to feel and to share and love the world around us. As an act of self-love, we can begin to educate ourselves, learn to take care of our physical bodies, as well as our thoughts, keeping our thoughts and our feelings positive and loving and kind. Nurturing ourselves teaches us how to nurture life around us. So practice constant acts of kindness, and you're going to be bringing kindness to the planet. We can use it right now, if you haven't noticed. Forgiveness, of course, is the easiest and the most powerful act of kindness, both for yourself and for others. It promotes unity, harmony, oneness, and all of those things will transmute the old into the new.
In 1977, Michael Mazur and Linda Creed composed what I truly believe to be one of the greatest love ballads of all times. It's filled with very deep, meaningful lyrics that on the surface sometimes you miss. And this song was actually re-recorded in 1985 by an unknown artist at the time for her debut album. That song would later go on to become Whitney Houston's greatest hit, and that is The Greatest Love of All. And I fell in love with this song many years ago because it really exemplifies to me what the basis of love is. And within the lyrics of that song, it says, "The greatest love of all is easy to achieve. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all." Now, the 14-year-old that first heard this song really wasn't mature enough to understand what it actually meant. It was just a great dance song. For centuries, composers, poets, philosophers, psychologists, all these people have been attempting to capture the essence of love, whether in works of art, in music, or in literature, trying to boil it down to one thing. And we as humans, we are absolutely fascinated by the concept of love. And we seek love around almost every single corner. We also have a tendency to endure great challenges and pain in the search for love. But what we're doing is we're always looking outside of ourselves. We're looking for other people to show us that love. Because really, when it comes down to it, like Reverend Danell said, we all just want to be loved. That's what we want. Now, I've sort of cleaned up this quote just a little bit. RuPaul is very famous for saying, if you don't love yourself, how the heck are you going to love somebody else? Now, I would like to add to that as a caveat or an addition to it. If you can't love yourself, how will you ever truly recognize love from someone else? Because once you have truly learned to love and accept yourself, you will know love beyond measure. You'll no longer seek the love of God, for you will know firsthand that it's already yours. You'll no longer question the love of others because you will recognize that it's always been there. For me, truly the first step to realizing unconditional love is to unconditionally love and accept myself. So, within the human existence, we have a tendency to lie to ourselves. It comes very easy, very natural, and yet very few of us would admit to the fact that we lie to ourselves. Rather, in most cases, what people will say is, I'm too honest with myself. I'm way too critical of myself. And we tell ourselves, if we tell ourselves something often enough, we will start to believe them. And the funny thing is, if you tell yourself something often enough, it will become true for you. So a question for you. Have you ever stood in front of a mirror and thought, wow, I'm getting old? Have you counted the lines on your face or the gray hairs? Have you looked back at your youth and thought, I was handsome or I was pretty? Look at me now. These are conversations that we have with ourselves. We actually, when we are standing in front of the mirror having these conversations, we are telling ourselves that we are old, that we do not look as good as we once did. We're not as healthy as we once were. We basically are telling ourselves that we're not good enough. And what I also see is stepping away from the mirror is when we make a mistake. When we're having difficulty doing something, we tend to say things like, God, I'm so stupid. Wow, what an idiot. And we're referring to ourselves in these words, trying to lessen the impact of what you're having trouble doing. And what we're really doing is we're hiding our insecurities behind self-deprecating humor. And we use that a lot. We make fun of ourselves as a way to not necessarily take a look at who we are because we sometimes don't like what we see. Now, to truly know love, we have to learn to love ourselves. We must learn to love ourselves. And to love ourselves requires two things above all. Keep hitting the wrong button. The first one is self-care. Now, when we talk about self-care, we're talking about physical, spiritual, and mental self-care, which are all critical. And we may be tempted to believe that self-care is a selfish act, when in fact, it is one of the most selfless acts there are. And the reason for that, think about this for a second. How difficult would it be for a malnourished person to provide food and sustenance to somebody else? If you're overly stressed and worried about things in your life, how much more difficult is it going to be to provide comfort and care to somebody else? And if you are spiritually not necessarily where you feel you should be or you're questioning, it's going to be a little more difficult, not impossible, but a little more difficult to help guide somebody else when they come to you in their time of need. So one of the things that when I think of self-care, some of the things that come to mind is the fact that as humans, we make time for what's important to us. If it's important to us, we will find the time to do it. So we should schedule time for meditation, prayer, and relaxation. Actually schedule time for self-reflection and assessment. Schedule time to decompress. We oftentimes don't take the necessary time to unplug, whether it's from your phone, your TV, or your computer, even if it's for only 10 minutes. We also need to find time to either walk, run, swim, cycle, yoga, basically anything relaxing that gets our body moving. And we need to incorporate these into some form of spiritual practice. And we need to take care of our bodies and make our health a priority. We can do that by watching what we eat rather than eating without thought. A lot of times I find myself consuming things without even realizing what I'm eating. It tastes good, I'm going to eat it, but I'm not focused on what is it that I really need. If you practice self-care, you might initially feel guilty, but here's something to remember so that you don't feel guilty with this. 1, self-care will help you to re-energize. It will help you to become more relaxed, more focused, and with all of those things, you will be able to give more as well as accept more from others. After self-care, self-love. One of the things that we need to do is to stop self-criticizing and using self-deprecating humor. We need to quit with that internal dialogue that says, I'm too stupid, I'm an idiot, I'm too old, I'm too fat. Now, you do this, and I promise you, you're not lying to yourself. You are changing the dialogue. You are changing the perception that you have of that image that is standing in front of you. So when something is difficult, instead of saying that you're an idiot, change it to, I will get this. When your muscles and joints hurt, instead of saying, I'm old, change it to, I have a lot of life experience. Simply change the dialogue, change the perception. Now, growing up, my mother told a story. It was a children's book that she was kind of trying to write, but I love this story, and it's about cold pricklies and warm fuzzies. Now, when you think of a cold prickly, those are going to be the insults. Those are going to be the negative things that we say. It's going to be when we're not the kindest and nicest to the people around us. And the warm fuzzies are actually exactly the opposite. Now, we carry around a bag of these with us all day long, and we hand them out constantly. Whether we are handing out cold pricklies or warm fuzzies, the choice is ours. But you also give those to yourself, and you take on that personality. And if you spend more time thinking about what's wrong with you rather than what is positive, then you're going to have that difficult time with that self-love. It's going to change your perception. Now, for me, when I think of self-love, one of the reasons why this is such an important concept to me, and also the idea of being authentic, is as a gay teenager, I didn't know what love was because I didn't believe I was lovable. So I grew up with this concept that I couldn't be loved. I wanted to be loved. I really wanted to believe that that was possible. What I learned as I got older, and I like to say occasionally a little bit wiser, is that the problem was I didn't love myself. I didn't understand what love looked like, so I couldn't recognize it when other people gave it to me. It was not until I reached that point in my life where I could accept who I was, be honest and like myself and love myself, that I could truly, truly understand what love felt like. And there are many forms of love. There is the romantic love. There's also community love, family love. They're all different levels of it. But until you can truly, truly focus that self-love, say, I love me, understanding and accepting that unconditional love from others, you may not see it. You'll still continue to seek it. So as 2018 comes to an end, I have a challenge as we move into 2019. And at the end of the year, we will be writing our letters of intention. So I have a challenge for anybody who cares to participate in it. 1, create a schedule for self-care and self-love. Create both daily and weekly practices that will help reinforce this. Decide what works for you, and then be flexible, but also be consistent. I also challenge you to change the dialogue. Use affirmations when you are getting ready in the morning or in the evening. Affirmations that will reprogram the way that you think about yourself. And repeat these affirmations until they become your truth. Here's the thing, you're already talking to yourself. Why not just change the topic? Watch the world around you change as you truly, truly embrace that concept of love of self. With that, as I said, you will truly know at that point the love of God. You'll be able to accept and recognize the love of others. And most importantly, you will receive the greatest and most powerful of the divine gifts. The divine in me recognizes the divine in you. Peace be with you.